In this video, we'll create a scroll interaction that changes the page color using Webflow variables and custom attributes. So let's open our variables and we'll create a couple color variables. Let's add one for color/background, our main site background. We'll have one of color/text for our main font color. Let's add a color/button background. And let's also add in a color/button text. Now we can also add variables for any other elements we need, and we'll need to recreate these same variable names when inside our different themes. So we could have a light theme on our site. We'll have a light/background. Let's add another for light/text. We'll have one for light/button background. And let's add one for light/button text. And in light mode, our site background will be this. We can set our font color to this. This will be our button background, and this can be our button text. And we'll need to create these for any other themes we have, like a brand theme or a dark theme. So I'll have a dark/background. We'll have a dark/text. We'll have one for dark/button background. And then we'll also have a dark button text. And in dark mode, this can be our site background. This can be our font color. This can be our button background. And this can be button text. Now we'll never apply these light or dark variables directly to elements. We're always going to reference them through these color variables. So if our site is a light mode by default, we could grab this color background and set it to the light background. The color text could be light text. We could link up the button background to the light version and button text to the light version as well. So once we have that set, we can apply these color variables to our different elements. So if we head over to the body, go to body all pages, we can set the background to color background. We can set the text to color text. And then we might want to grab this whole nav bar and set its background to the color background as well. And we might want to grab maybe this button element and set its background to the color button background and set its font color to color button text. So once we have that set, there's some code we can add in, and I'll leave a link to it in the description below. These first three lines here, these scripts, we can add to our site settings before body, or for a single page site, it can go in page settings before body tag here. So we'll paste that in and save. Then for this next set of code, we'll want to add it inside an embed on our page, and we can make that an embed a component if it's a multi-page site. So I have this custom code embed. I'll just paste this in here. So what this is doing is saying anytime we have an element theme attribute with a value of 1, we're going to update our color variables like color background to be light background instead, color text to be light text. And then whenever element theme 2 is set, the color variables will switch to the dark versions instead. And we can add however many themes we'd like. So maybe we have a color theme 3 that switches color background to maybe a brand background instead. And we can add those in here. So the advantage to this is some of our pages we might want to be light mode by default. Some pages we might want to be dark. We could grab this body and we can add a custom attribute to it. We can say element theme, and if we set 1, that's light mode. If we set 2, that'll be dark. So we can switch the theme on the body like so. Now for certain elements like this card, regardless of what the theme is on the body, we always want the card to be dark because it's on top of a dark image. So we can apply a background color to it of color background instead of just relying on the body's background color. And we can apply a font color to it of color text. And by default, these are just the light mode colors. But then we can grab our card and we can give it this element theme 2 so that it's always in a dark theme regardless of what the theme is on the body. So if we grab our whole body and switch that to dark, this is not affecting the card whatsoever, just the stuff outside of the card. So now that we have that set, when we scroll into certain sections, we might want to change the theme on the body. What we can do is grab maybe this blog section here, and I'll add an attribute to it of animate body 2, and then we can pass in the theme we want to animate it to. Mine will be theme 1, light theme in this case. So when we scroll into this section, it'll animate to light, and when we scroll back out, it will reverse back to whatever the previous theme was. Now when we scroll past this section, the whole body will stay light, so we might want this next section to switch the body back to dark. So to do that, we can pass in animate body 2, and we'll switch it to animate back to dark. Now these are going to animate whenever the top of the section reaches 50% from top of screen. So right when the section reaches the center. I find that's a good point for these types of animations, but you can always customize it from the embed. That's percent from top is 50 right now. We can also customize the duration of the animation, the GSAP ease, and also a min width. By default, this runs on every single breakpoint, but if we only want it to run on desktop, we could say run on screen sizes that are at least 992 pixels wide, and that way below tablet it would clear out, and at desktop it would animate. So I'll just leave this to all breakpoints, and we can go ahead and save and publish this, and we can check it out. So basically our whole page should be dark by default because of that attribute we put on the body. We could set the default to whatever we'd like. Whenever the blog section comes into view, it should animate to light. If we scroll back up, it should just reverse back to whatever the previous color was. When we go past the body and this next section comes in, it should animate to dark. And that's the top of section reached 50% from top of screen. Now on larger screen sizes, we may find here that whenever we scroll here, this last section, because it's not tall enough, never reaches 50% from top of screen. That's okay. That's totally accounted for. Whenever this last section is fully in view, that's when the animation will switch. And whenever it scrolls back out of view, it'll just reverse back. So it still works pretty well on large screens. So that wraps up how to create these color scroll interactions in Webflow.